All right, welcome back to the channel. Mikey Garcia says Terence Crawford, Mikey Garcia, the former 3-division champion, says that Terence Crawford, who was the WBO welterweight champion, and a fight with him and Terence and Errol Spence, who's the IBF and the WBA champion, makes no sense at this time. Let's talk about what he said, man, because I think he actually makes a couple really good points in there. Mikey Garcia is a bright guy. I don't think there was too much hateration up in there, but he made sense. Let me tell you what he thinks. I disagree slightly, and I'll give you my thoughts on that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe down there. Hit the bell icon down there so you can be notified of when we release more videos. Much love to my Patreons. Hey, man, I just did our first rewatch is uploaded there. So if you have time, check out the fight with me over a rewatch of a great fight over on Patreon. I review the fight. You can go through it with me, man. Give me your thoughts on it, man. I know it's something you haven't checked out in a while, so go over there. Also, we got an episode this weekend coming up of The Whole Story, and that is the one we're going to do. We're going to look at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the development of a whole fight card, a famous fight card or a recent fight card. That's going to be over there, a new Patreon series. So the 2 Patreon series are Rewatched and The Whole Story. So definitely check me out over there on Patreon as we shift that Patreon more to a boxing focus. Now, also check out the live streams we do Monday through Friday, OG Boxing Talk on Sunday. All right. Mikey Garcia did an interview on Fight Hype. And man, Mikey Garcia to me still sounds a little slow. Maybe it was in the morning when he was, because it was in the morning. They were feeding him some type of breakfast food. Looked like oatmeal with fruits and vegetables. With fruits in it. It might have been early in the morning. I don't know, but he just still seems just like he's moving just a little slow after that whooping he got in his last fight from Errol Spence. But he was asked to comment on Errol Spence Jr.'s return to boxing and the fight with Terence Crawford. And he had some very interesting observations. And Mikey Garcia, I do believe, is somebody that is extremely credible in this area because, his family has been in the business of boxing for a very long time, with his father having been a trainer for Fernando Vargas, his brother being a very, world-renowned trainer, highly successful trainer, and himself being a multi-division world champion. Also, I should mention that his brother is a former 130-pound champion as well. I don't think he was lightweight. I think he was a super featherweight champion. Lost to Diego Corrales at 130 pounds. Yeah, but Robert Garcia, it used to be Roberto Garcia, changed it to Robert Garcia when he became a trainer, but excellent fighter. Now he makes this observation when he was asked about Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. Now he talked about how, of course, you got to see Errol Spence come back and how he looks. Can he take the punches? Can he take punches the same way and all that type of stuff, right? So, we'll set that particular issue aside, because, we'll see and know that when we see and we know that. As of right now, I don't have any reason to believe that the guy's not healthy. If he walked away from an accident with just a few scrapes and bruises, hey, man, he walked away and some broken teeth. He walked away with broken teeth, some scratches and some bruising. It is extremely highly unlikely that would have happened if you looked at what the car did in the accident itself, but it appears that that's what happened. So, hey, man, it is what it is. If he thinks he's good to go, hey, man, it's up to him to see when he comes back. Regardless, or moving that subject to the side, the actual fight with Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, Mikey Garcia said doesn't make sense right now because it's not big enough a fight for two networks to come together and share and split the money on the fight. Now, that's not saying that it's not a big fight, that it's not a terrific fight that people want to see, but he was talking about it from the point of view of some of the networks themselves and how big a fight has to be for ESPN and Fox Sports to decide that they want to come together and split the money on the fight, and then there'd be enough money for everybody to go around on both sides, versus a fight where two guys are fighting in the same promotional company or on the same network, and there is no need to split the money. Split the money that doesn't go directly to the fighters, that it just stays with one network. That's where he said that it didn't make sense to make the fight right now, and he doubts that fight is going to be made right now. Now, his rationale is that Errol Spence Jr. doesn't sell that well by himself, and that Terence Crawford doesn't sell that well, right? He said Terence Crawford doesn't sell that well, and Errol Spence doesn't sell that well by himself. Now, I'm not sure what that means, that Errol Spence Jr. doesn't sell that well by himself, because it seems to me that Sean Porter's pay-per-view with Sean Porter's is close to selling that well by himself as you can get. But it isn't, though, the sales that they expect to get from a Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury, or what they're getting out of they could get out of, say, a Manny Pacquiao. If I don't even know, maybe like the Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. So he used the example of two networks coming together. The examples that he used were the Tyson Fury fight with Deontay Wilder, and he said that would work because this is the second one. They believe that the first one did well enough and was an intriguing fight, that the second one is going to do much better. So they are willing to split the money on the second one because of how well the first did. And now that is something that Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford would not have the benefit of doing, unless Terence Crawford was just sent over to the PBC and said, look, man, you just can have him for this fight, and you guys have a pay-per-view, and we won't want anything to do with it other than, maybe Bob Arum's promotional fee. You handle the whole thing, and then if it does well, then on the second one we can co-promote it and make it big. But that's just not the scenario. That's not the scenario that it's in. Right, that we're in. It's different than the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight, because Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder was the number one was completely a PBC show, and ESPN has nothing to do with it. The only reason they have anything to do with it now is because Tyson Fury, for some odd, I guess for his paydays for the fights that he took in between, because he didn't want the original rematch, brought ESPN into play. Then they mentioned the Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao fight, and how that took 5 years for those guys to come together and say, okay, we're at the point where we have to make this fight. This fight is so big, and there's so much money in it that we actually have to make that fight. So that was Mikey Garcia. That's Mikey Garcia's argument for why the fight doesn't make sense right now, and that really does bode with what Errol Spence Jr. said as far as the order in which he wants to have that fight take place, and that would be to fight Danny Garcia and Manny Pacquiao before he fights Terence Crawford. And if you look at it in the light that Mikey Garcia put it in, it makes sense, because really, as far as the building of the fight, the Errol Spence Jr. and Danny Garcia, I don't believe is a much smaller fight than Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. As far as the fan bases that they're bringing in, the fan bases and the fan interest, and it's not, put it this way, because I'm sure people say, no, the Terence Crawford fight's much bigger. It's not so, that fight's not so much bigger that it's going to justify to the PBC them spending more money in the fight because they're co-promoting it with ESPN, because there's costs associated, there's money coming out of it, more money coming out of it on the ESPN side. So is the difference between the two so great as to make up for the fact that the costs also increase? I don't know. And I'll put it this way, it's not a surefire yes, because Danny Garcia is a big name, and Danny Garcia has a whole Puerto Rican fan base and New York fan base that are going to come out and support Danny Garcia. The Puerto Rican fan base is one of the bigger in boxing, especially in the United States. It's probably the third biggest consistent fan base that there is in boxing, behind Black and Mexican fight fans. Then there are the Puerto Rican fans who come out and support the Mikey, who come out and support, the Hector Camachos and the Felix Trinidads and the Miguel Cottos and the Danny Garcias as well. So, but then Manny Pacquiao, that's obvious that Manny Pacquiao is a bigger fight than Terence Crawford. So, from a business point of view, it really is very difficult to argue with what Mikey Garcia is saying. That is why I think it's so important that Terence Crawford fight somebody like a Sean Porter, that they get some type of solid track record behind Terence Crawford to entice these guys to really want to make the fight. Like, you could hear even in the conversation that took place between Kenny and I think it was Blue Blood did the interview. I think this is the interview that Blue Blood did with Kenny Porter, where Kenny Porter said, and I know he said it on 78 Sports TV's channel as well. It's just the one that was fresher is on the one on Blue Bloods, where he said that, that Al Heyman was in the meeting with Sean and Kenny Porter talking about the Terence Crawford fight, but the outcome of it was that Bob Arum needed to send them an offer. Well, why would Bob Arum need to send an offer for Terence Crawford, Sean Porter, but for a Deontay Wilder fight with Anthony Joshua, Al Heyman's going to send the offer? Well, the only difference that I can see is the perspective that the PBC has of the fight. Like, if you want to tell me how much we're paying for Sean Porter, I'm okay with letting you go over there to ESPN and fighting him. Yeah, Sean, go over there and fight him on ESPN. If they're footing the bill, hey, you got my go ahead. Because that's what it seems like. They might not think that PBC's not thinking that that's a big enough fight with Terence Crawford, but the advisor and the manager, well, not manager in this case, the advisor, Al Heyman, says, okay, go ahead and go over there. So that just seems to me to tell me even further example that Terence Crawford, in order to make the fight that we all want to see, Terence Crawford's got to put in some work against some legitimate people that are going to get his interest, get his numbers up. Because the point Mikey Garcia made that I think is valid is that Errol Spence Jr. has done very, very good numbers with good competition, with the Mikey Garcias and with the Sean Porters. Terence Crawford has never done that at all. Definitely not on a pay-per-view note. Has never done that at all, and he needs to get his numbers up and somebody to help build his numbers so that we can get the fight we want to see. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.